The Maple Leafs wake up in the third period, score 4 unanswered to come from behind to beat the Penguins in a historic comeback. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Wowza. What a game. What a game, Dave. That one was kind of, it was a Jekyll and Hyde type of performance from the Toronto Maple Leafs, sleeping through the first 40 minutes of play. But, man, did they ever put on a show for their home fans in the third period, pal. 4 unanswered goals. It's the first time all season that they've been able to come back from a multi-goal deficit. But it's the first time that the Leafs, in their storied history, have ever come back from a 3-0 third period deficit, apparently, which I thought was insane that they haven't done that. But that's I heard that on the broadcast. But I saw that one. Yeah, right. That's a true stat. That seems unbelievable considering like how many times this team has come back. But either way, an impressive final period there from Toronto, man.
I was like, yeah, you go through this game and you're like, they're seriously gonna get outscored by Ben Kindle. They're gonna lose this game because Ben Kindle is having a career moment, which, go figure, usually how it goes in Toronto.
Is he a Toronto boy? Is that why? Is Ben Kindle? Where's he from? Let's see. Let's see where Ben Kindle is from. Probably a Canadian, I would imagine. That's typically what happens. Coquitlam. All right, he's a BC boy. So no, but either way, yeah, it didn't look good through the first 40 minutes. And that second period, maybe one of the worst periods we've seen all season. There's been some bad hockey played by this Toronto Maple Leafs team. But whatever the hell that was said in between periods, coming out of the second to start the third, whatever the hell they said worked because we saw a completely different team come out and put up an absolute performance in that third period, 4 unanswered goals, and they just took it to Pittsburgh.
Well, look at who got them out of it, right? That was Nylander and Matthew saying, okay, like, and to no surprise, when your star players pick up the slack when they've looked god awful, like they were invisible. Everyone was probably ready to throw both of them into the trade market with the way the first 2 periods go. But like William Nylander, 3 points in those 3 minutes and whatever seconds to get Toronto back into it.
Yeah.
And you look at it and you say, like, I had so many messages saying, what the heck happened? And it's just like, not really much, right? Like, when you look at how they got back into this game, it wasn't like they had to do anything extraordinary. Simple, get into score, win some puck battles, get some scoring chances, and make us look bad for saying Tristan Jarry should be in Olympic consideration because he looks very much not like an Olympic caliber goaltender too, because he was shaky.
Yeah. I mean, the fourth period, obviously, you give up 4 goals. That's not great, but honestly, it really just came down to like urgency. They played with purpose. They played with urgency. They won some puck battles like that. At the end of the day, that was kind of the difference there. Like the fact that they actually started to win some battles and keep possessions alive Like that was the difference. You look at the third period, 70% expected goals in that third period. They allowed just one scoring chance against, one high danger chance against, but had 10 scoring chances themselves, which is more than they had in the two previous periods before that. And it was all led by the captain and their second best player, right? Nylander and Tavares, like you said. And ultimately it was those guys winning battles. It was Matthews down low making plays. It was Knies down low winning battles. And then it becomes infectious. And all of a sudden you've got, Nick Robertson winning some battles out there. You've got Tavares obviously doing, what he does best by winning some battles. So that's what it came down to. And this is why it kind of bugs me. You look at last game, you hear from Auston Matthews, or maybe the game before that. He's like, I don't think it's an effort thing. I think we're trying our best, and it's not an effort thing. We just got to execute. It's like, well, it kind of seems like it might be a little bit of effort, because when they actually put the effort out in the third period and they played to their capabilities, look how good this team can be. And that's the team that we expected to see right out of the gate, right? That's the team that we saw last year that, was really, really engaged and won a lot of puck battles. They were structured, specifically in the neutral zone. They didn't allow anything off the rush in that third period. They kept everything in front of them. They absolutely controlled play the way that they're expected to. And a lot of that was just continue to retrieve pucks, keep winning battles, stick checks, take pucks off of the Penguins when they're in their own zone and keep the pressure on. And they did that time and time again. They wore down the defense, they stretched them, they got tired, and they were able to figure out a way to get some goals out of all of that. So it kind of, when I hear, a couple games ago, they say, I don't know if it's an effort thing. It kind of is, because when you know that you put forward an effort like you did in the third period, you're going to win a lot of hockey games, right? You win a lot of situations, you win a lot of battles, you're going to win a lot more games. So you got to put together that performance night in, night out. And that's the frustrating thing about this team, right? The Jekyll and Hyde nature, where it's when they're on, they look great, but there's been way too many periods this year, and specifically the second period has been a massive issue for this team all year long. And the second period in tonight's game was horrendous.
Oh, it's terrible.
Luckily, they got a couple of saves from Stolarz to keep them in the game long enough for the offense to wake up there. But it was a completely different team in that third period. And it all, to me, came down to effort, hard work, and compete level. And that, to me, is effort. A willingness to compete is effort to me. And that's literally what they were talking about post-game is how well they competed in the third period. Why the hell aren't you competing in the first period or the second period? How come you haven't been competing every minute you're out there? You're in the National Hockey League. It's so frustrating. And I don't want to sit here, like I'm going on a tangent now, and I don't want to be mad and upset after a big come behind victory. We should be happy and celebrating the win. They finally kind of hunkered down and gave us a good signature victory. But it's just so upsetting where it's like, you can play like this all the time. Why do you only choose to do it in 1 out of 3 periods each and every game?
I'm sure Craig Berube was not happy with how the second, like you think the coach says, okay, we battled, we got the win. He's like, no, our second period was terrible.
Yeah.
And so many people are messaging, and then even our Discord is just like, what's changed with this team? What's going on with this team? And I'm getting a lot of, blame being placed on the coach and the front office. And I'm like, this is the kind of style that people were asking for this Leafs team to start playing, that heavy style, right? But at the same time, everyone also thought that having this new coach staff would be able to change the one thing that was always an issue for this team, and that's the effort.
Yeah.
Right? And and I'm sure that's probably what irks Craig Berube the most, is that he knows that when this team plays with the effort that is needed on a nightly basis, this is the result that can happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that third period is what can happen, right? And when you play with conviction, you're going to get a good result. And I'm sure if if we were in that locker room, we would have heard him say that. And I'm sure that's what frustrates him. And that's what's frustrating a lot of people with how this season has gone for the team, because we know that they're better than what their record is indicated. Okay.
Mhm.
I get it. There was a change in the offseason, but that change shouldn't have had this drastic of a change when it comes to the other players who are still on this roster who are capable of leading the charge.
Yes, I agree with you, but even so, we're done with that, right?
Yeah.
Like we're into November now, right? You've
But
got
the
to
thing
figure
is,
it
we're
out.
still hearing about it, and I'm
Yeah, but guess
wondering
who's not walking through that door, Dave? Guess who's not walking through that door? Mitch Marner. So you better figure it out without him, or else you're going nowhere fast. And this team
Absolutely.
still has aspirations to potentially win a Stanley Cup this year and over the next couple of years, as long as you still have that core of Nylander and Matthews around. That should still be the aspirations for this club. It's a veteran group, and they know that that's where they want to get to. And the sooner they realize that that guy's not coming through the door, and they're going to have to find ways to have more success without their big-time facilitator, the quicker they're going to get to it. Now, I will say, over the last couple games, right, you started to see some positive signs in Pittsburgh. Take out the first 40 minutes of tonight's game. I don't even know what the hell that was. They were horrendous, but you saw some positive signs there in the third period where it's like, okay, now this team is waking up and they're playing to their potential, and you're starting to see what this team can be when they actually buy in and play the way that they're supposed to be. Let's come back. Let's get into the 3 stars from tonight's game, who impressed us, and so much more. That's next in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. It's helped me keep organized of all the accounts and track my spending and get a better handle of my investments without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. And if you're reviewing your finances with your partner, you can see shared goals and make better financial decisions together. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where your money is going and how to make it work harder for you. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKDOWNNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKDOWNNHL for half off your first year. Today's show is also brought to you by Farm to Fork. If you're a fan of premium locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door, I've got exciting news. Farm to Fork makes it easy to get high-quality steaks, air-chilled chicken, well-caught seafood, and more, all without no antibiotics, hormones, or GMOs. Plus, everything comes flash frozen and individually packaged for your convenience. All Farm to Fork meats are raised on Canadian farms, so when you order, you're supporting local producers. It's time to buy Canadian. Farm to Fork meats are top notch. There's some great steaks, juicy, tender, perfectly cooked, and you know that chicken is so air chilled. It's fresher and more flavorful than what you get in the store. They're delivering all across Ontario and Western Quebec. And the best part, delivery is free with a minimum of order of $199. You don't even have to leave the house to get this quality. I've got a special code for you. Use code LOCKEDON40 to get $40 off your first order at farmtofork.ca to start stocking up on the best meats around. Again, that's LOCKEDON40 to get $40 off your first order. Farm to Fork, delicious, locally farmed meats delivered straight to your door.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you, as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with brand new episodes of the Locked On Leafs podcast, available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google, wherever you get your podcasts, and also up on YouTube as well. The Maple Leafs with a 4-3 come-from-behind win over the Pittsburgh Penguins. They were down 3-0 to start the third period, scored 4 unanswered, and a record-breaking performance. The Leafs apparently had never done that before, which really surprised me. That this Leafs team had never trailed 3-0 on home ice to come back and win the third period. But here it is. It's happened now, and we'll go through the 3 stars of the game in just a moment. But anything else that stick out to you from tonight's performance, Dave?
I mean, the scratches. I mean, I did not expect Mattias Maccelli to be scratched from the lineup. I know that there was talks about Bobby McMahon and whether he was going to come out because I think he was on an 8-game pointless streak.
And he only played like 11 minutes on Saturday, which was very low for him. Scored tonight, so it was a good decision to keep him in the lineup, obviously. I thought Nick Robertson played well tonight as well. He got in on the action with an assist. So I thought they obviously made the right call. They got the win in the end, but definitely a curious decision to see Mattias Maccelli get healthy scratched. I'll be surprised if this happens moving forward. I feel like it's maybe just once, maybe twice, 2 games perhaps, and then he's right back into the lineup. But that was definitely a bit of a surprise to see pregame, him not out doing line rushes with everybody else. All right, let's get to the 3 stars of the game tonight, Dave. Who was your 3rd star?
3rd star, I'm gonna go with I'll go with Anthony Stolarz. Maybe I should give him a little higher up, but I felt like the first couple periods, the 3rd goal I didn't care for so much. I know that Brandon Carlo should have probably have done a better job of if you're gonna screen the goalie, block the shot. Yeah. But at the same time, I thought Stolarz could have made that save. That's just like it's like one of those should have had it, keep your team in it. But like there was also he had to keep the team in it because they were only had at one point they were being outshot like 20-8. Like it's almost like okay, I can't play both ends of the ice. Famous. My husband can't throw and catch the football as well. For those NFL fans who know that one.
Yeah. I mean, to me, Stolarz, I have him a little higher up on my list. I'll get to him in just a moment. But, we rarely do this for 3 stars, but I want to give a shout out to Coach Berube. How often does he show up in our 3 stars? But I don't know what he said.
Ever have.
He may not have ever shown up in our 3 stars, but I don't know what he said to the boys in that intermission. I know Stolarz was asked about it post game, and he said, he said some not so PG friendly things in that in between period there. Yeah, shocker. So Chief rallied the boys. He got them fired up and ready to go for the 3rd period. But he also put the big boys together, right? He mixed up the lines and he said, all right, screw it. We're going to fight fire with fire. Matthews, Knies, Nylander, get out there and do something. And they did. They led the charge. Those are the guys who got 3 goals in 3 minutes and 24 seconds. Matthews right off the draw makes a great little play to get himself open off the rush, scores. And then obviously William Nylander gets a couple of goals kind of back to back right there. And earned goals. Like I look at that Nylander goal, totally an earned goal. We'll get to it in just a moment, obviously. But, it was Craig Berube who made those decisions, and I just think that was massive to put those 3 together. And also just what he did to get the boys, kind of back in line heading out into the 3rd period. So for that reason, I think he deserves the 3rd star.
Yeah, I mean, like somebody had to say something to get this group. And usually, obviously, majority of the time it's the coach. Sometimes there's a player in the locker room who stands up and kind of gives the boys a head shake. And but I do think that this was definitely a Craig Berube realized, okay, like gotta take the gotta pull up the big boy pants and kick this group back into shape. And I wouldn't. It doesn't surprise me here that he really pushed the team to get back to it.
Well, I think you could argue that may silence the "has Berube lost the room" crowd.
Yep.
Right. And is the message stale? The message was sent, and the message was received in that intermission there, because they came out firing and played with a hell of a lot more urgency and purpose and pride, and it obviously worked out for the Maple Leafs. So yeah, Berube gets a star tonight. My second star gave it to the big boys, like gave it to that top line. Auston Matthews, William Nylander, and Matthew Knies. You know, Matthews gets the party started with that huge goal off the rush at center ice, wins back the draw, and then just goes and roofs one off the rush there. And then he also, you know, sets up Nylander for a second goal by keeping the play alive down low. And you know, like those were goals that were earned too, right? I think that's what we need to appreciate about this team and about the goals tonight. Those were earned goals, right? With winning some puck battles to keep the possessions alive, stretch the defense a little, tire them out, and then bang, you know, they fired into the back of the net. So shout out to those guys for getting the party started. And then obviously you get one goal from the depth, right? Your big boys got you 3. You needed one more from a depth player, and Bobby McMahon came up with that. But it was the big boys that got it going and led the charge in the comeback.
Yeah, that was huge for them. They were my I'll get to them a little late. They were my first star.
Yeah,
I'll say. Under 4 minutes together, and it was 3-0, right? When they did that, when they put the 3 of them together, and we criticized that decision. Like we didn't, but I've seen people criticize the decision to have Matthews and Nylander play together and Knies, right? Loading up that top line. You know what? At this point, you can't be picky about these things. They need offense. They got to find a way to get these guys going, play them together. How often, when the Edmonton Oilers aren't doing well, do they say, all right, McDavid, Draisaitl,
yep,
go play a game and go get us the win.
Yep.
Right. You go the nuclear option. Something had to change. They did, and it worked. Imagine if Craig Berube was stubborn enough to not do that change. Games that they don't come back if they don't do that. So give them a lot of credit for that. But my second star, Nicky Bobby. That fourth goal doesn't happen if he doesn't chase down the puck.
Yeah.
Not only chase down the puck, get a scoring chance, and then Bobby McMahon's there to pick up the loose puck to score. But that's, again, what he needs to do to stay in this lineup. And not only stay in the lineup, because he's not coming out now, staying in the top 6. You've got to make the most of those opportunities and show that extra gear. And look, I don't think effort sometimes has ever been criticized for him. It's what he is doing with that effort, right? Sometimes you're showing an effort, you're skating, but nothing's really happening. He's making something happen. And so let's see if we can continue to ride this Nick Robertson in the top 6. And maybe if there is that desire to potentially move him, it ain't going to be a throwaway now. I think he's, a few teams are calling. They're not going to be getting the sweetheart deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's possible. It's also, if he continues to produce like this on a consistent basis, it's also possible that they keep him and they could use him, right? If he's going to play the way he did tonight, and this might have been his best game as a Maple Leaf. I thought he was kind of making plays all over the place tonight. He was kind of all over the ice. And if you look at, the expected goals tonight, he led the way for the Maple Leafs tonight. Where is it? Yeah, expected goals, 0.97 expected goals tonight for Nicholas Robertson, according to moneypuck.com, which was by far and away the most out of any other Maple Leaf. Next after him was his line mate, Bobby McMahon, at 0.39. So, he was probably one of the more dangerous Maple Leafs on the ice tonight. So shout out, kudos to Nick Robertson. We've always said the biggest issue is when he doesn't score, he's not doing a whole lot else. Well, tonight he showed that he can do some other things, right? He can win a race to a loose puck in the corner, retrieve it, take it to the net, and then provide a rebound for someone else to go in and score. But it was that effort play from Nick Robertson that led to the game-winning goal. So, if he keeps doing stuff like that, Nick Robertson will have a spot in this lineup, right? We've seen it fade quite often. But if he can continue to do it on a consistent basis, there's a top 6 roster spot right there for the taking for Nick Robertson. It's there. He can grab it if he can continue to put out effort like he did tonight, time and time again. We'll see. I hope, man. I hope. I want to be wrong about doubting Nick Robertson. I want to be wrong about trying to trade him away, put him on waivers. I want to be wrong about this. Nothing would make me happier than for the Nick Robertson fan club to dunk on me every single day moving forward, because he continues to score, make plays, set up guys, and do whatever, be a positive player, impact player on the ice. Nothing would make me happier than that happening for him and for this team, because that means that good things are happening for the Maple Leafs. So thought it was a great game out of him for sure. He was an honorable mention for me. I was going to make him, and then I put Berube in there. But I'm glad that you definitely gave him the love there with your second star. Anthony Stolarz, for me, I gave the first star, because they don't have the opportunity to come back if Stolarz wasn't as good as he was. I mean, that could have been 4 or 5, 6-0 before the third period. They were so bad in that second period. They were all over him. And even late in the game when it was tied up at 3, there was a couple of chances. Mantha had, a rush chance. And then I forget who it was I think it was Blake Lizotte on a rebound on that exact same drive. Made 2 huge stops to keep it scoreless that allowed the Leafs to get one more and take the win. So I thought Anthony Stolarz was the best player on the ice for the whole game to keep them in this thing. They don't win without him tonight. They certainly don't win without Anthony Stolarz. So he got my number 1 star. All right, Dave, we'll take one more break. When we get back, we'll put a little bow on things from this game and look ahead to the rest of the week. So that's next here in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. The NHL is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Network. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score the next goal to third period comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Network. Today's show is also brought to you by Gametime. Hockey season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache between wasting time in queues, surprise fees, prices, jumping right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your favorite team. That's where Gametime comes in. It's the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets, easy and stress-free. I love that you don't have to pay. There's no hidden fees. You know exactly what you're going to pay at checkout. And they also have these in-app seat views. You know exactly what your seat can look like before you purchase them, and their zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Gametime picks your seats, and you save big. You can even find tickets for under $25 at select NHL locations. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as always. The Maple Leafs with a 4-3 come-from-behind win against the Pittsburgh Penguins, a win in regulation, I might add, and a record-breaking win. Apparently, this has never happened before, which still blows my mind. Dave, moving like how much more impressed? No, that's not how I want to word that question. How much more belief do you have in Auston Matthews in particularly over what you've seen over the last couple of games compared to when we had that discussion? I think it was literally on Friday's show We really dug into the numbers. He had only had 1 goal at 5-on-5 heading into the weekend. I think it was 6 goals his last 40 games at 5-on-5. Well, now he's got a 5-on-5 goal in back-to-back games here. Had one in Philly, another one here tonight in Pittsburgh, both of which using pretty much off a wrist shot, snapshot, wrist shot. He's using that wrist. How confident are you that Auston Matthews is rounded into form? Not rounding, but rounded back into form.
A little bit more confident, but I'm still a little pessimistic because I haven't seen the full him take over a game. Scores in 2 straight games. That's
took
good.
Over the third period, at least we could say.
Yeah, like the third period was good, but I'm still kind of looking for like this was the Auston Matthews game. And to me, that's kind of what's missing right now. Is he's doing like not only was he doing it offensively in that third period, but defensively too, right? They needed that top unit to kind of shut down the Penguins attack, and so that's what he was doing a bit more of. But yeah, I still feel like we're need to just see a bit more. It's trending in the right direction. I just don't know if he's fully back yet.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think we still need to see more on the power play as well. That's kind of a spot where I think this team needs to start get going. I mean, 12%, now 11%, I think, on the power play, just too low for this team. So that's one area that they certainly still need to improve upon, and he's a big reason for it. But I think ultimately he does need to just be more consistent with it. 20 minutes of dominance isn't good enough, right? He's come out and said that. Nylander said that. Berube came out and said that. It's not good enough. They need to put together a 60-minute effort and just show a little bit more consistency offensively with this group, and he's got to be the leader. So it's nice to see the flashes are there, which leads me to believe that it's not a physical ailment holding him back from success, that it was more so mental, maybe just trying to figure out life after Marner, and maybe it took him a little longer to figure out than we had hoped. But I think I want to see him and Nylander get a run. I really do. We saw it work in Boston when they loaded up that line. Let's give it a real run and see if they can put together a string of performances like we saw in the third period here, but game in, game out for a couple of games here.
Yeah, I just think you just need to have a little bit of consistency within the top 6. I don't know if they're going to be keeping the Tavares unit the way it was. I'm curious if that McMahon, Tavares, and Robertson trio can stick the way it did tonight.
I do another game. No,
yeah, I think for sure. I think you just have to continue to see if this little what we saw in that third period can kind of ignite some consistency for that trio that we're kind of looking for. And again, I think when you look at I brought this I think we've brought this idea up in training camp. Would they consider putting Nylander with Matthews? And people were just like, why would you go and do that?
Well, I think it was the first game of the year. They put them together in the third period, and then you started to see some offense. Like, okay, can we see this more? Like, I would like to see it. And then they went away from it, and then they tried it, and then Nylander got hurt. And then they went back to it again tonight in the third period. Let's try a whole game of it. Give it a go. And not like Nylander, Knies, and Matthews. I want all 3. Make a super line. Let's get out there. Let's get after it.
Yeah, I think we need to. I think at this point, with the way that this season has gone, and this team needing a bit of some juice, right? Look, yes, I get it. They are 3rd in the Atlantic. They're only 3rd in the Atlantic, but points percentage wise, I think obviously the win does help, but they've they've looked a little behind, right? And so they need to find a bit of rhythm. They need to find a bit of a spark, and they took advantage of again their home schedule. Their home schedule's been very good, but they're gonna have to start to find a way to rally off some wins.
Yeah. And it's not going to get any easier. They got the Utah Mammoth in town on Wednesday. That's a team that's winning. That's a young group. That's a fast group. That's given the Leaf fits this season. So we'll see if that effort can start from puck drop, because that's what they'll need to put up a valiant effort here with Utah coming to town. We will tee up that game for you guys tomorrow, but that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.